Just run away with me, darling.
Hey guys, so we're starting off with the brows today. First taking the Benefit Gimme Brow in the shade number 1, really working that back and forth into the brows to create a nice foundation. You guys will see it makes such a difference. And then I'm taking the Ka-Brow Pomade in the shade number 2, and I'm basically just lining underneath my brows, aligning the top as well, and then just filling them in. And then to make sure everything blends together nicely, I'm taking my Precisely brow pencil with the spoolie end, just running through that. And then with the shade number 5 in that same pencil, I'm just going to draw really small hair-like strokes through the end of my brow and just anywhere where there's sparse areas. Really helpful for those of you who have sparse brows like me, because it's going to help fake thicker brows, especially if you're blonde, without making them too dark. We're then going to clean up underneath the brows to get those Instagram fleeky brows that you guys know I like. I love a bold brow. So we're just taking the E65 small angled brush and the Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Fair Neutral. I personally like to use a really light concealer because I feel like it makes the brow bone pop. Just basically applying that underneath the brows and then blending it out with my finger. And I'm then taking my favorite unicorn tape. I believe you guys can get this from ASOS or TJ Maxx. A few of my subscribers let me know in my last video, so I'll try and find that online for you guys. But I'm just placing this along the lower lash line to create a nice crisp line when we go in with our eyeshadows later on. And then we're just using that same concealer as a base, and make sure you guys get that into the inner corners to hide any darkness. We're then going in and setting that concealer with the shade Classic from the Tarte Pro palette. You guys know I'm obsessed with this palette, it is amazing. And then just for the transition shade, I'm going to use Peach Smoothie from Makeup Geek. It's one of my favorites and it's just such a beautiful orange toned transition color. I then decided to take the shade Bold from the Tarte palette and just blend that into the transition area as well on my Sigma E40 brush, just for a little bit more definition and a little bit more of like a brown warmth. And then taking the shade Desert Sands from Makeup Geek, honestly one of my favorite eyeshadows. It has this beautiful mustard tone, but it's kind of like a brown mustard. Can't explain it to you guys, but I'm basically taking that on my Sigma E25 brush, blending that a little bit more precisely into the crease and onto the outer corner of the eye as well. I'm then taking the shade Whimsy on my Sigma E36 brush. This one is perfect for like a detailed crease work. Basically just blending this color more precisely into the crease and onto the outer corner as well. We're just kind of building up those shades, and I was just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, because you guys know I never really have a plan when I sit down and film. It's just whatever happens, happens. And then going in with my E47 brush, and I'm taking the shade Edgy. It's just a deep brown. I just wanted to again add a little bit more definition and just start building up that depth. And then I went in with the black shade from the palette on that same brush, just super lightly, again just to build up a little bit more depth in that outer corner. Then taking the Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Light Medium. I'm using a darker shade this time because I don't want it to be too stark and bright. I'm just applying this to the inner corner of the eye and doing a half cut crease, and then taking my finger just to lightly diffuse everything. Then to set the lid and just make sure we don't get any creasing, again going in with that shade Classic. And then just to add a little bit of the colors back to the outer corner of the eye, I'm taking the shade Whimsy again and just blending everything together. And then going in with my MAC Extend Eye Base. One of my subscribers told me to use this as a glitter glue rather than a primer, and I'm obsessed with using it that way. So I'm just placing that on the area that we did the cut crease, and then I'm taking my Sigma Celestial Glitter. It's like a really cool green-brown pigment. And we're basically just applying that straight over top of where I put the primer down. I didn't use too much primer, and I'm using a tiny brush because I wanted the glitter to be a little bit more sporadic and not so concentrated, if that makes sense. I'm then moving on to winged liner. You guys know I'm obsessed with a good wing. The way I like to do mine is look down into a mirror. I'm holding a compact because I like to get quite quite close. And I go across my lash line first, and then I move on to the wing, doing the bottom line, and then when I do the top line that actually forms the wing itself, I come from the outer corner back towards the inner corner of my eye. I just find this is the best way to get my eyelid to like stretch out all the wrinkles so you're not really hitting them and getting bumps as you go. And if you struggle with eyeliner like I do, just build up a little bit at a time. So you guys can see I just really do it in steps and I take my time with it, otherwise I can get a little bit crazy. And as you guys can see, the tape really helps to get like a clean, crisp line without having to stress too much about doing it on your own. I applied my lashes off camera, but I just used the New Balsam Russian black lashes. Obsessed with these, they're so dramatic. And then I went in with my Tarte Lights Camera Lashes mascara just to blend them all together and make sure everything was seamless. Then moving on to the skin, I'm taking my Garnier micellar water and I'm just going to rub that over my face just to remove any oils and any fallout we have from the glitter before we go in with any of our other products. And it's important to make sure your skin is clean. And then I'm taking my MAC Prep and Prime Essential Oils, pressing that into my skin because you guys know I love using an oil underneath my skincare and my foundation. And then I'm going in and moisturizing with my favorite moisturizer at the moment, which is the Tarte H2O. Seriously, if you guys haven't tried this, you need to. It is so hydrating. For primer today, I'm using the BECCA Backlight Priming Filter. It's a really beautiful luminous primer, so I'm just rubbing that into the skin before I go in with my little Cover FX Click Stick. This is in the shade Peach, and I'm essentially using this as a color corrector for my dark circles. So I'm just applying that with a brush, and then I'm blending that out with my finger before I go in with foundation. Today, I'm using the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in the shade NC20, and I'm mixing that with a little bit of their face and body mixing medium just to stop it from being so thick, because I find Studio Fix can be a little bit too much for my skin sometimes, and I wanted a little bit of a thinner foundation today, so mixing these two gives you like a really beautiful finish. And then I'm just applying that with my Sigma 3D HD blender and really pushing that into the skin to make sure it's really flawless and seamless. Then you guys know I'm taking my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I'm using the shade Light Neutral and I'm just applying 4 dots underneath my eyes. You guys will see this is still a ton of concealer. A little bit goes such a long way, and I was trying to not go too heavy with the coverage today. I know, right? Crazy. I'm usually such a cake face. Again, just applying that with my Sigma 3D HD blender, and then going in with one of the new Tarte foundation sticks. This one is in the shade Tan Sand, and I am well aware it is too orange to be used as a contour. In real life it doesn't look that bad, but just on camera it definitely picked up a lot more orange than I anticipated. It's a really good contour for when I'm pale, but because I was tanned at this time, it was just a little bit too yellow toned for like a contour shade, if you guys get me. But I made it work. I ended up going in with a bronzer later on and fixing everything up, so don't call me orange. Then I'm going in with my Cover FX translucent powder. I'm just using that Sigma sponge to bake underneath my eyes and bake underneath the contour as well. It wasn't really a contour even, it was more just like adding a bit of definition to my face. And then I just took my Sigma F37 Spotlight Duster just to dust away the bake underneath my eyes. I left the one underneath my contour because I wanted that to last a little bit longer, but I just don't like my eyes feeling too dry. I'm then going in with this ZOEVA eyeliner. I can't remember the shade, so I'm going to leave it linked down below, but it's like a gorgeous sort of berry shade. I actually saw, I think it was Belle Jordan, she did something like this on her lower lash line, and I just thought it looked so stunning, and it was something so different, so I just wanted to try it out. Basically, I used it in my lower waterline and along the lash line itself, and then I just blended and smudged everything with my L04 Detailed Lip brush from Sigma. And I then went back in with the Tarte Pro palette, taking the shade Mod. You guys can see it's a really similar shade to that eyeliner pencil, so I'm just using that to further smudge everything out and make sure it's like blended and seamlessly diffused. And I then went back in with the shade Whimsy, that nice orange tone shade, just to add a little bit more warmth and further blend everything. And then, because you guys know I like to layer my colors, I wanted to tie in the lower lash line with the top eyelid as well because they are such different shades. So I just went back in with Desert Sands and just added like that mustard tone underneath, so it had like a cool like grunge sort of effect to it. I then finished off the eyes with the shade Glam, just applying that into the inner corners and then tying everything together with that same Tarte Lights Camera Lashes mascara on my bottom lashes, just really piling it on because I wanted them to really stand out. Then just wiping away the bake that we left sitting there and moving straight on to bronzer. I'm taking this OFRA bronzer, I can't remember the name, but it's like a nice cool tone shade, and I'm just using that to kind of color balance the orangeness of my face, and it worked out pretty well. It was quite a nice bronzer. And then I just moved straight on to my highlight. I'm using the highlight directly underneath it. This is like a little booklet of like, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a little book of like OFRA highlights and contours and stuff. I can't remember the name and they don't have like the shade names written on there, but these highlights are on crack. It is crazy. They are so pigmented and gorgeous. So you guys know me, I'm drowning my face in it and flipping you guys off all at once. Then to finish everything off, I just took my NYX Nude Lip Liner and I'm just overlining my lips ever so slightly. I wanted to keep the lips really neutral and like a pale nude, just because the eyes have kind of a lot going on and they're really sultry and grungy. And I then just took the Tarte lipstick in the shade Skinny Dip. I'm obsessed with this, such a beautiful creamy lipstick. But that completes this look, you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.